Hi, I'm Gary Schiro, and I'm the facilitator of the Mattituck Museum's Community Cookbook Club. And since all the programs right now are on hiatus, we thought it would be fun to try one of the recipes from one of the books that we've been working with here on video for you to enjoy. We started the Cookbook Club in January, and for the first session, we all came together at the museum and we asked everyone to bring a recipe from their favorite cookbook. I brought a recipe from this, The Taste of Country Cooking by Edna Lewis, and I made a chicken ring mold because she described it as one of her favorite things in the book. And people brought dishes from their own favorite cookbooks, and it was really a lot of fun. In February, we got together and we were cooking from Jubilee by Tony Tipton Martin, which is a recent book just out at the end of 2019, covers 200 years of African American influence on American cooking, and uncovers a lot of interesting histories for recipes and dishes and a journey that certain ingredients made from Africa to America. From this book, I made bene wafers, which I've now made twice since then because I like them so much. This month, if we were able to gather together, we were going to be cooking from this book, Jerusalem by Yotam Ottolenghi and Sami Tamimi. A really fascinating and beautiful book. We'll show you some of the inside of it a little later. Yotam is Israeli and spent time in Jerusalem, and Sami Tamimi is Palestinian and spent time there. And the book covers the incredible range of influences on food in that amazing city. And today we're going to be making a recipe from this, Mejadra. So first up, as you've probably heard a million times, mise en place. That's the French expression that means everything in its place. And it really makes it easier in the kitchen to cook, especially if you've got something that's going to be complicated at all or have several steps, to have all your things ready. So first we're going to give you just a peek at the ingredients that are going into this dish. We've got 4 medium onions. We're going to be using some green lentils. These are lentil depuis, some basmati rice, some vegetable oil, some flour, some sugar, some allspice, turmeric, cumin seeds, cinnamon, coriander seeds. So in this cookbook, the authors give us both measurements according to cups, and also they give us grams. And this can be especially important if you're doing a baking recipe. Many bakers actually prefer to weigh things because even just the way that you and I scoop flour can be so different that we're getting a very different amount in the dish. In this particular dish, I don't think it matters much, but I thought it'd be fun to just work with the scale a little bit and just show you that it's just a scale that can go between grams or ounces. We got it set for grams. And now I'm going to put the device that I'm going to use to put the ingredients in, and I just hit the tare button, which takes it back to 0. So now it's not weighing the pan, and I can find out exactly what 250 grams of lentils is. And there we got it. The alternative, if you don't have a scale, is it's 1.25 cups of lentils, and they can be either green lentils, which these are lentil depuis, even though they look kind of always sort of black to me, but they refer to them as green lentils, or brown lentils. So first up, we're going to cook these lentils in plenty of boiling water. We put the lentils into the water together and bring them up to the boil. So I'm just pouring them into the pot here that has plenty of water in it. We're going to cover it and let it come up to the boil, and we're going to do that for 10 to 12 minutes and then take a look at the lentils and see how firm they are. So while the lentils are cooking, we're going to move on to the onions. We're going to peel these 4 medium onions and slice them thinly. So the onions are peeled now, and I want to show you, I keep a container like this in the freezer at all times, and I put all onion scraps and carrot peelings and herb stems and anything that's in decent shape and can go into the stock pot, and I save all of this along with chicken bones and chicken parts that I may trim when I'm using the chicken for something else. I save all that until it's full, and then I make chicken stock from this a couple of times a month. So it's been about 14 minutes, and we can really smell the wonderful earthy scent from the lentils now. So we're going to check them for doneness. I don't remember where I learned this tip, but lentils actually harden as they get cooler. So to really know if something is done to your liking with a lentil, you have to cool it down. So I'm going to take a few lentils out of the pot and put them in this cool water so they stop cooking. And then I'm going to try one of them and see what the level of doneness is. I think that's perfect. The recipe writers say you want them soft, but still with a little bit of bite, and I think we're there. So I'm going to drain these and set them aside. So now our onions are all sliced. I have my impeccably clean hands that have been washed several times, and we're going to just sprinkle the onions with 3 tablespoons of flour and a pinch of salt. And we're going to mix all that together. And we're going to fry these in 1 cup of vegetable oil. The cookbook authors call for sunflower oil. We didn't have that, but we have some vegetable oil, so we're going to use that today. One of the things about cooking during the pandemic is that we all have to get comfortable with making lots of substitutions. So you want the oil to be fairly hot. The recipe says to test it by dropping in an onion and making sure that it is sizzling furiously. I also want to, since I have an instant read thermometer, I want to take its temperature because I know I'm looking for around 350, and we are definitely there. So in the first third, go. Now the onions are just beginning to brown, so we're almost there with the first batch.
2.
I'm just beginning to take out the ones that are getting darker and leaving the ones behind that can use just a little more time. But we're pretty much there. So our onions are now all fried. We ended up doing 4 batches, and we also ended up using another cup of oil because we were using a wider pan than I think is called for in the book. So it needed a little more oil, but we put in 1 more cup of vegetable oil. And I just want to show you one more thing. You don't have to discard this oil. What we're going to do is save it because it's just had these wonderful crispy, crunchy onions cooked in it. And you can't smell this, but it really has such a wonderful smell, and they are incredibly crispy and tasty. This oil can be used for a lot of other things. We can fry other foods in it. Potatoes would be terrific, or cutlets. You can use some of it in a salad dressing. So we're going to strain it into a jar and keep it in the fridge. So this recipe calls for 1 cup of basmati rice, and it doesn't call for rinsing the rice, but everything that I know about cooking basmati rice came from this incredibly brilliant book, Classic Indian Cooking by Julie Sani. I highly recommend it. It's an absolute encyclopedia of everything in Indian cuisine. And with basmati rice, and actually all of your rices, they benefit from rinsing them because it gets some of the starch off of them and it helps the grains stay individual and not clump together. So we've got our 1 cup of rice here in a strainer, and we're just going to run cold water over it until the water is less cloudy. And you can see the water coming off of this rice is quite cloudy. And we'll just keep doing that until it's relatively clear. So now we're in the home stretch. We are going to start by toasting our seeds, our cumin seeds and our coriander seeds, in 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Now we've switched over to olive oil. So our seeds are now sizzling and popping, and we're going to add in the drained cup of basmati rice and stir that around so that we can coat all of the rice kernels with the oil. And we have a tablespoon and a half of cinnamon going in. A tablespoon and a half of allspice. A teaspoon of sugar. And a half a teaspoon of turmeric. And give that all a stir so all the rice grains are coated. And then we add a cup and a half of water. And now the lentils that we cooked earlier and set aside. And give that a good stir so everything gets incorporated. So now we've brought it to a boil. We're going to lower it down to a simmer. We're going to add a pinch of salt and the recipe calls for a lot of ground black pepper. And then we're going to cover it and let it simmer for 15 minutes.
Okay.
So it's now been 15 minutes and this has been simmering away. And you can see there's not much evidence of the water there. And we're taking a clean kitchen towel and we're going to drape it over the pan. Put the lid back on. This is a technique that's used in a lot of rice cooking techniques, both from India and Persia and the Middle East. The point of the towel, the clean towel, is that it's going to absorb any residual steam that would drip back down into the rice. We just want to absorb that steam and let the rice just settle and continue cooking with the liquid that it has, but we don't want to add any additional liquid. So we're going to leave it like this off the heat for another 10 minutes. So it's now been 10 minutes that our rice and lentils have been sitting and resting with the clean dish towel on them to absorb any of the liquid. And we're now going to put it into a bowl and mix it with half of our fried onions. You can cut. So here's the first half of our onions. And we want to just gently mix this together now.
Three.
So now we mixed in the first half of the fried onions into the rice and lentils. We're just going to transfer it now to our serving bowl. And now finally, the last half of the fried onions gets distributed on top of the rice and lentils. So here is the Mujaddara in the book, and here is our Mujaddara. So there you have it, the Mujaddara from Yotam Ottolenghi and Sami Tamimi's Jerusalem. We're serving it with a little bit of toasted flatbread, and in the head note to the recipe there was a lovely paragraph about Sami Tamimi's family going out on picnics to Jericho, and they would bring big pots of Mujaddara with them and serve the Mujaddara into individual bowls with a little bit of yogurt sauce. And that's what we have here, which is just a half a cup of Greek yogurt, a tablespoon and a half of tahini, 2 tablespoons of lemon juice and a tablespoon of water all mixed together. Happy cooking, stay strong, stay healthy, and we look forward to seeing you soon.